I got it.
I think you ought to know. Do-do-what-it-up, men's radio. Do-do-what-it-up, the place where men and women really speak. Do-do-what, do-do-do-what. Oh man, what a show. Do-do-what-it-up, it's men's radio. Do-do-what-it-up, this crazy show is on 3 times a week. Do-do-what, do-do-do-what. Now Russ and Phil are there to help with all your cares. We laugh, we cry, we talk like grown-ups do. But if you're sad and low, it won't cost you no dough. And radio, that's the place for you. With Russ Kane and Phil Dave.
We made it to Friday.
We made it to Friday, and we will have a guest. We normally don't have a guest on Friday, but we do. So I thought it was a very, very interesting subject.
Right.
Yes, but we're just waiting for them to appear because at the moment I've got nothing. I've got a name which I'm not even going to try and pronounce.
Well, it's Roisin.
How do you pronounce it?
Roisin.
Are you sure? Roisin.
Yes, I can see her poised.
I can see her poised, and she's still vaguely speaking to us, and she looks vaguely pleased to see us, but we never know.
Don't worry, we'll soon change that.
Well, we can ruin this. Here we go. Boom.
Oh, there you go. Oh, hi, Roisin.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you? Okay.
Thank you.
Good,
there
thank
we
you.
are. A rose between 2 thorns. Okie dokie. Is Phil, I don't know how to pronounce anything, Dave, getting your name correctly pronounced?
Yes, Roisin is perfect. Yeah.
Blast.
You see, it really annoys him when I know the pronunciation of names.
I thought you were going to say, no, it's pronounced Sandra. That was what I was hoping for. I was really hoping for, a moment of complete failure. No, he's done it well. Roisin, tell us why you're here. I don't mean philosophically. I mean, why we've invited you onto the Daily Show on Men's Radio Station.
It's why we've had the audacity to turn up onto this program.
Well, thank you for having me, for starters.
Pleasure. Absolutely.
So I'm a vet at the Blue Cross Animal Hospital in London, and I'm here basically to talk about how the hot weather can affect our pets this summer.
Right, because Phil and I both adore dogs, and
much more so than people, it has to be said.
Way more than people. We really don't like people that much, apart from you, actually. You're obviously charming, but we love our dogs. So what should we do? Because it's hot, right?
So we need to be very careful with our pets in the hot weather. And I think we've done some research recently which shows that people aren't necessarily aware of the impact that hot weather can have on their pets and the dangers that it can pose to them. So really, we're just trying to get some awareness out there that as the summer hot season comes in, that people think about their pets and how they're going to cope with the excessive temperatures. Things we commonly see coming into our hospitals are dogs and cats with bad burns on their paws from walking on hot ground.
Roisin, this is absolutely bloody infuriating. If it's hot for you, why would somebody with a brain bigger than a peanut not realize it's hot for your dog? It's ludicrous.
Well, arguably hotter, because in case you haven't noticed, most dogs wear fur.
They wear fur, and they've got no little shoes.
Exactly. I mean, if it's too hot for you to put your bare foot on the surface, whether it's the sand or the pavement or the astroturf or whatever, it's going to be too hot for them. So,
and also, it's interesting the number of people who carry on regardless when it comes to pets in the sunshine. It's almost as though, oh, okay, well, I normally take my dog for a walk around 11 o'clock, and therefore I'm going to take my dog for a walk at 11 o'clock because a routine is good for a dog. Yes, that's great. But then just be aware you're hurtling towards the midday sun. So, of course, the day is going to be hotter still, and that's probably going to be very unpleasant for the dog. So rather than maybe 11 o'clock in the morning, maybe 9 o'clock in the evening might be better.
Yes, or 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, something like that. That's what I do. When it's cooler.
Exactly. We would encourage people to just change their routine a little bit during the summer. I don't think anybody deliberately tries to harm their pet, but I think it's just we forget that it is harder for them. Like you say, they wear big fur coats. They have, if they're old or if they're overweight or if they're a particular breed that has a squashed up face, like a French bulldog or a pug, they all find it really, really difficult to manage the heat. So you just have to take sort of special precautions for those animals.
And what about? So go on. Go on.
No,
go
it's
on.
just going to say, I remember reading somewhere once, and I can't remember if I was imagining this or not, so please correct if this is wrong. But some of the dogs that have long fur coats, so for example, like huskies, for example, or that, what's the other breed that's sort of more, it's like an oriental breed that has a really long furry coat, and they're sort of about the size of a German Shepherd. Do you know which ones I mean? Can't remember.
Saluki.
Thank you, Saluki dogs. If they have, is it true that sort of actually one of the worst things to do is to shave their fur off because they rely on it as part of their cooling mechanisms?
Definitely different breeds, they have different needs in regards to their fur. So some long-haired dogs, we do advise clipping them down to sort of make sure that heaviness and that thickness kind of is reduced over the summer. But there are breeds, you're right, that have particular types of fur that have undercoats and various layers and things which serve a purpose. So I certainly would think if you have a dog like that, talk to a good groomer and ask their opinion. They may even be able to thin it out without clipping it completely. There may be options you can find for those dogs. So it's really worth finding a good groomer in your area and having a chat about it.
And then what about inside the home?
So when you're at home, it's best to sort of keep everything as cool as you can. So there are some dogs and cats who are sun worshippers and want to lay in the hottest part of the room. But again, have a think. If they're not sort of taking care of themselves, you need to take care of them. So close down the blinds, put on a fan. If you've got air conditioning, turn it on. You can keep them cool by offering them water, or if you look at our Blue Cross website, there's lots of little recipes how to make sort of tasty icy treats for them and things like that to cool them down.
Like an espresso martini or something like
The doggy
that. Now, what about cooling mats? Because my mini schnauzer won't go near gut cooling mats back in the day. Won't go near it. Absolutely won't go near. Just won't.
They can be good for some dogs. Certainly, if you buy the right type, there's various different ones, but if you buy the right type with a particular gel and things in them that aren't toxic, then they can be a good idea for some dogs. But like any animal, they don't like change very much.
No,
So
they
you have
don't.
to introduce all these things slowly. There's probably no point to bringing them out for the first time on the hottest day of the year. You should
Right.
get these things out, months in advance, have them in the room, maybe put their treats on it or their toys and, get them used to it, that it's a comfortable place for them to hang out. And then by the time you
Absolutely.
need it, hopefully they'll be more familiar.
And also make a fuss of them as well. Is that right? So almost like ignore them when they're on the normal floor, but when they're on the mat that you want them to stay on, if you make a fuss and then they associate it with fun times, they associate it with some good things.
Yeah.
So,
Positive reward is always advised. Yeah.
And also, what about, okay, so here's with pets in the heat. I think it's sort of a very common misconception that all dogs are capable of going in the sun one way or another. So, for example, if you've got a dog that has maybe some sort of pigmentation condition, like pink nose and stuff like that, you have to, is it right? You have to sort of apply creams and stuff like that to that, because if they've got lighter fur, they can burn. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So any sort of exposed, unpigmented skin can be prone to sunburn, like with humans. And similarly, any sunburned skin or skin that has sun damage can be prone to developing skin cancers as well. So we would advise any sort of in unpigmented areas like that. If you have a pink nose, the ear tips sometimes in some dogs have very little fur on them, or if you have a very scarcely haired, white-haired dog, then yeah, you can buy pet-approved sunscreens, and we'd really advise popping those on. To be honest, like us, we should be wearing them all the time, but certainly in the hot, sunny weather.
Can I ask you the what I think is the big question? Because this is something, it's come up quite a lot on the show actually in the past. You're walking along and suddenly you see a car that's parked not in the shade. There's a dog in there and it's like a gazillion degrees. Do we have, I'm not asking you the law, it's just an opinion, obviously. What do we do? I mean, we can't just smash the windscreen in because then we're going to get done, presumably. But those dogs are in, that gets so hot in those cars.
That's right. Even within minutes, the temperatures can rise, 10, 15 degrees. It's a really dangerous situation to leave a dog in, and they can become very unwell very quickly. in those situations, if you see it, the best thing you can do is phone emergency services. So phone 999, explain what you've seen, explain where you are, and they will usually direct you through what the next steps would be. Often it will be sending somebody out who has the authority
with an axe,
to do
with
something
with a
about
pickaxe.
it. Yeah.
One
But
of
I
the
think in
things-
general, we want to get the
sorry.
message out there. Just, even if you're just nipping into the shops for a couple of minutes, just don't leave your dog in the car, windows open or not. It's going to get really hot in there.
You
So
have
try not to do that. Yeah.
Can I make just one suggestion? And it's something that I've seen on clips from America. Yes, I put a big note which says, "Yes, I know my dog's in the car. I will be back in 2 minutes. Please don't worry." Or something. No, seriously, something like that. Because I think that's fair. If you're going to just literally pop in, drop off a bit of dry cleaning, and whack that straight
I
out
think
again.
it's
that's
fair.
okay.
2 minutes is a long time in intense heat.
It is a long time. Yeah, it is. You'd be surprised. They've done studies where they've put thermometers in the cars and, watch it go up after 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. And it does rapidly rise in there, particularly if you're not in a shaded area. So, I really would caution against it if possible, because you never know who you're going to meet coming out of the post office, and suddenly 2 minutes turns into 5 minutes, and, we all get distracted. So I would really say just avoid if you can.
Oh, bless. Any other particular tips? I mean, just leave do you need to leave extra water, Rosine, or just
I think
amounts?
when you're walking your dog, I think it's always a really good idea to bring water with you and bring some sort of a bowl that you can give it to them in as well, so that they can stop and take regular drinks. I think you should try to plan your walks that you've got somewhere shady that you can stop in for rests to cool down. And I'd also say maybe try not to over exercise your dogs in these weathers. Let them just go at their own pace, take breaks when they want to. But I certainly think intense games like chasing balls and sticks in the park at the sort of hottest times of the year are just going to increase the chances of them overheating.
You've clearly never met my dog, have you? You've clearly never. So the idea of throwing a ball, I might as well ask it to solve nuclear physics. We have to stop at every blade of glass, every tree, every twig, every lamppost, it is the slowest walk on the planet. Trust me, there is no exertion going on with her.
Well, that's good. At least she'll be low risk then, hopefully.
Oh God, if she was any lower risk, she'd be in a coma. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. It's so important. Phil and I are both crazy about dogs and got loads in the family. And when we see them in distress, it's horrible. It's horrible. So bless you for the work that you do at Blue Cross. Fantastic.
Thank you very much for having me. And just to let people know, if there's any other information they'd like about heat stroke or about things they can do to keep their animals cool in the summer, just look up our website, www.bluecross.org.uk.
Brilliant. You
Marvelous
do great
stuff.
work, by the way.
Thank you, Roisin.
Bye-bye. Have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Marvelous stuff.
What a charming lady.
Absolutely.
Charming. It's I'm going to do some of these.
You can't sound too surprised. She works for Blue Cross, so she has
she's
to.
Obviously so. Right. Claridge says this.
Hello.
What have we got here? You're going to read that? Yeah.
I'm down here. Bravo to a wonderful friend of mine who worked tirelessly along with an undercover journalist to expose the horror and cruelty of the scam that is puppy yoga classes.
What a load of bollocks that is, right?
The poor puppies are mistreated, taken from their mother far too young, forced to work for hours on end in very hot rooms with no access to water, and often illegally sold on to those who attend these shockingly fashionable classes. Now, I have to tell you, okay, it's not going to go down very well.
Go on.
My sister and her sister-in-law recently attended a doggy yoga, or puppy yoga class, but she didn't imply. I mean, she's very aware of the mistreating of dogs. Certainly didn't imply that there was anything untowards going on. So I hope it doesn't apply to all doggy.
No, it doesn't.
Yoga.
I think it's Paul, with the greatest of respect. I think that's a real sweeping statement, because my daughter does all these things with her self-help club, this hugely successful podcast series that she and her podcast partner have got, Nicole Goodman, have got going. They've done all these things like goat yoga and all this stuff. No, I mean, she would have absolutely gone berserk. Julie Voice, formerly of Houston, Texas, now of Guildford.
I think she's got the better end of the deal.
You think? No, I'd rather be in Houston. Roddy is very happy today. He thinks Mummy has taken him home. I'm currently walking him through the woods in the shade. Okay.
Thank you for listening or watching us whilst taking for a walk in the shade. That's good.
No. Well, that is nice. Now I'm trying to get this.
I
Here we
happen
go.
to
Here
know,
we
by
go.
the way, we are international today. We have reached the shores of Tenerife.
No way.
Mm.
Whew.
Yeah, my parents are currently waiting in the hotel lobby for their taxi to take them back to the airport,
Oh,
where, please God, they come home this evening. And as a result of it, to pass a bit of time, they've decided to take MRS to Tenerife and are hopefully watching this as we squeak.
how fabulous is that? Back to Claridge. I've seen so many people walking their dogs at the hottest time of the day in Putney and elsewhere. I've challenged a few of them, especially when the dogs are being walked on boiling hot pavements. It's madness. Please stop. You're doing the dog no favor at all. Some owners just ignorant. Yeah, as a fashion. Oh well, God, go to Los Angeles. You want bloody fashion accessories. Sunscreen. We dealt with that. This isn't good. Getting away from dogs, getting back to humans.
Good afternoon, gentlemen, says Luke Newman. Hope you are well. Suffering from a little burnout at present from full-time and part-time work. So taking things back to basics at present and not doing anything that can wait for a few days and weeks. Bravo to you, Luke. It's really good that you recognize that, and more important, you're acting on it. And that's the most important thing to acknowledge here.
Bloom it. Most things will wait. Most things will on it.
I have a very strict rule. I have a very strict rule, right? When it comes to emails, I look at my phone for emails, but I don't necessarily, unless it's anything absolutely urgent, will I ever reply on it. I will wait until I'm in front of a desktop machine. I would type it up properly. Furthermore, I'm also known for not replying to emails for sometimes days on end, because I refuse to start this constant sort of fire of emails, if you like. Because if people have to wait a week or so for me to reply, then they're not going to rush to write again. It's exactly the same way that this.
No, I'm just thinking about you. It's like, Phil, having a big party tonight. Would you like to come? Week later. Oh,
Yeah.
yes, that sounds good. No, it was tonight, you idiot. What's the
No,
matter with
obviously, like I said, if it's time critical, I will do. But if something that can wait, then I most certainly I will do. And as far as I'm concerned, it's exactly the same principle as when people used to write letters.
Yep.
There was no such thing as instant gratification. You had to wait for a few days before you got your reply. And it's the same principle as far as I'm concerned.
Well, technology changed the complete way that I had to work, because as I was a scriptwriter, copywriter, especially if I was writing scripts, corporate scripts. So I would type them out on my electric typewriter using, yes, carbon paper and Tipex. And then I would send a copy to the client by post. They'd have to read it. They would make some amendments. They would post it back to me. The whole thing was really leisurely. There's some bastard invented the fax machine, and that screwed everything. That was the beginning of it, because there was no more post and no more way. You get it back, then oh man, so everything speeded up to like crazy things. Emma Webb. What have we got here? This isn't nice. I recently saw a man drag his dog on a lead, get frustrated, call it a C word. Oh, what? You didn't call the police, Em? Should have called the police straight away. Absolutely. Don't get me started on puppy farms, because I will lose my temper. Oh God, Graham Pack. It's interesting to see Keir Starmer. If you're watching abroad, he is the Labour leader, wanting political party, wanting children to improve their speaking skills and oracy. I always thought oracy was the brother of.
Yes, dear.
Joke. Morrissey, do you get him? I've never got it. I have tried and tried and tried. I've tried with the Smiths. I've tried with. I cannot get it at all. Can't get it. Don't understand it. Just don't.
I don't mind the Smiths, but
Morrissey.
in bits.
Well, yeah, I know people absolutely adore him. They're fanatic, always have been, and I've never. I mean, like, people don't understand why I love the band Kiss so much. I absolutely love Kiss. And everyone goes, oh, they're awful. They're this, they're that. No, they're fantastic. It was their last ever London show, night before last.
And rumor has it was a crazy night.
Daisy, was it? Did they play it loud? I love them. Absolutely love them. Do you know what my biggest treat would be?
Gene
Their
Simmons.
last ever show will be back where it all started in Madison Square Gardens, New York, which is their hometown.
So he's so excited at the prospect. He's whacking the microphone.
I'm so excited. Yeah, I would, and it's the only band I would do it for, because I've seen everybody else I want to see. I would actually, if I had the money, fly to New York and see try and see the last ever Kiss show, because that would be a fantastic event. That would be so thrilling. Well, it would be for me. I think they're up in Manchester over the week. It's either tonight or over the weekend. It's a great picture of Jimmy Page from Led Zepp with Paul Stanley backstage at the O2. I just came across this morning. Looked great. Paul Stanley was very polite about it. Anyway, this is the stuff we like. You can't legislate for it. You either like it or you don't like it. And if you don't like it, doesn't mean you have to hate it. It means you just don't like it. That's fair enough. It's okay. Don't you think? I don't know what it is. What have you been up to?
What have I been up to? My eyes in debt. What have you been up to? No, it's fine. I would like to rest assured, people, I'm not up to my eyes in debt. It's only up to my ankles in it.
And he's up to Now then, back to Claridge.
But can we just say on the dog front? Oh, hello.
Yeah.
Oh, blimey. What? Paul, do you just like us on screen?
He doesn't
it's
like
fine.
us. He just, I don't know what's the matter with him. He's got
Unbelievable.
verbal...
I'm by no means saying all puppy yoga is tarred by the same brush, but my friend and the undercover journalist have vast experience, and those classes they did expose are exploiting the dogs, and staff were caught on camera admitting it. The film was broadcast on ITV News earlier this week, and I was involved helping in a very small way, and when the investigation was in its early days. So bravo. Well, Paul, thank you very much indeed, Neil. I know it's important to highlight this.
Graham's in rocking form. I don't get the Smiths. You can tell it's Friday, can't you? I don't get the Smiths. I get all my stationery supplies from Amazon.
Boom, boom. Actually, you know, big news this week. WH Smith have announced that they have no intention of opening any more high street shops for the foreseeable future.
Why would they?
Well, quite. Apparently, what they're going to focus their attention on is railway stations and airports, apparently.
Well, that makes sense.
But then again, I suppose they've got to do something with those ticket offices that are all going to shut down now, apparently. So.
What's it all about?
Alfie.
It makes perfect sense. You know, if you're an author and you want to write a populist book, you want an airport book. People said, "Ooh, I said, no, I want people when they're at Heathrow, Gatwick, Stansted, I don't care, Luton, go in. Oh, this looks all right, and buy it there. You know, it's not a work of art; it's entertainment. I'm not pretending it's a work of great art. There's a lot of thought in it. The new book's progressing. Can you believe the new book is progressing? I was writing it.
Excellent.
Yeah, I was writing it yesterday, so thank God for that.
I've been dog sitting all this week.
Oh,
because
of course, because the Tenerife
folks
crisis.
are away. Yes, because the folks are away. I have basically been keeping a very beady eye on Monty. Monty's gone to my sister today because of me being at work, but he's surprisingly calm. He's sort of quite subdued in his
even with his sister.
It's even with my sister, yeah.
Blimey.
He's quite subdued in his dotage. He's sleeping a lot.
Oh, so. Well, yeah. How old's Monty? 12? How old?
Well, he's 14, but he's
same as Ebony, yeah.
15 in September.
Bless.
Speaking of which, I understand that we're going to create an OAD shidduch on next week. Is this right?
I have been invited to your parents for Friday night dinner.
And who is the plus one?
I'll be what?
And who's the plus one?
No,
I'll be there anyway.
The plus one is I get this long message from Phil's mother saying, "Please bring Ebony."
She's itching to meet her.
That is my plus one. My plus one is my little mini schnauzer Ebony. He will go there, and just go to sleep.
I don't worry. The Friday night dinner conversations in the Dave household have that effect on many people.
They? Oh, right. Okay. As long as you can keep the service down to under 3 hours, I'll be all right. Ebony wasn't well this week. It's ridiculous. You know, there's a slight canine theme today because the Blue Cross guest. And she wasn't well this week. No idea what the hell was the matter. She just went to the local vet and bing, bang, bong. She's fine now. Absolutely, literally bouncing around. Got a mojo back. She's fine. Yeah, she's all right. Talking of getting mojo back, I'm doing a shameless plug, but the new podcast series, which is nothing to do with men's radio or women's radio or the Sound Mind Radio Group, just a project of myself and my colleague Mark Collin, is available everywhere that you get podcasts. It's called Walk the Talk, The Hero's Journey. people have been very kind about it. So if if you're traveling, you just download it. You can listen to it in the car, on the train.
If you
on the
haven't quite
tube,
had
on the
enough
bus.
of Russ on this station, you can get him a bit more.
There is that, but there is the intelligence and interesting thoughts of Mark Collin, who is my sort of, I call him my spiritual consigliere. And that's what he does for me. And he was a guest on the show, and it's all taken off from there.
Okay,
Yeah.
can we change the subject ever so slightly?
We can change it to whatever you like, as long
Well,
as
no,
it
I tell you
includes
for why.
Rossi
It's
Cravats.
because no, I tell you why. It's because there's a thought that I had earlier this week that I'd be quite interested to see what your take on.
Okay.
You know the expression ghosting, right? Are you familiar with ghosting?
Yeah.
Right. So anyone who's not familiar with ghosting, it is basically where you potentially message someone, get in touch with somebody, and they don't return your call, they don't recall you, they don't return your messages or anything like that.
Yep.
And it's absolutely extraordinary, sort of what can you describe as fireworks of thoughts just running through the mind as to whatever the cause of that might be, and how your imagination just runs completely wild. I don't know about you, it just does with me anyway. Imagination runs completely wild trying to work out what it is that I could have possibly done to have offended somebody or upset them, and then of course only to discover, really sorry, I've been busy, there's nothing more to do it.
Or didn't see a message.
But isn't it completely ghastly, sort of the day and age in which we live, that means that we're so used to everything happening like that? It's kind of goes back to what I was saying before about the emails and taking a few days to reply to it, that how cruel that the mind is capable of sort of behaving in that way and actually getting you to believe that you've probably done something wrong, even though the chances are, if you know you've done nothing wrong, you have done nothing wrong.
You've done nothing wrong. It's worse than that. There's three things. I didn't even know you were going to bring this up, but I'm pleased you do. There's three things at my age. If I can remember all three, it'll be a miracle. The first thing is, if I post something on Facebook, and I always try and, as a courtesy, to either I haven't got time to comment because some of these things get 200 comments or more. And somebody wrote to me going, somebody who's perfectly rational, by the way, not somebody I know online. I know them well online. I don't know them personally. Goes, you didn't like my comment. Have I upset? Do you not like me anymore? I went, I'm so sorry. There's like 200 things. I just didn't tick it. Or if I ticked it, maybe I brought the cursor up. No, please don't read anything into it. I thought, holy God, we really got to that stage in life. And then a dear friend, a guy, someone who's been on the show. Yeah, he doesn't like you, Robert. That's right. Sorted that one out. I've taken care of it.
For anyone who's listening to this, by the way, Robert Van Buren has messaged saying, I sent you a friend request on Facebook, Phil. You never got back to me. So I do apologize, Robert. It has to be said. I have quite a lot of friend requests. This makes me sound popular. It's just through the work I do. But I have quite a lot of friend requests that I need to sort of sift through to the ones I want to say yes to and the ones I don't want to say yes to. So I'm very sorry. I just haven't got round to it. The truth is that sort of when you and Russ will testify to this as well, when you do something that sort of puts you out there and people think they know you, the truth is you don't want to accept everyone. You have to very systematically go through who has sent your request and just check it all. So I'm sorry, I just haven't done that for quite a while.
I have nearly 1,000 friend requests. Most of these people I've never heard of. I don't know who the heck they are. I'm not going to add somebody who's got like 1, 2, or 5 mutual friends. Why would you want? I don't know why anyone wants to be friends with me. And Phil can attest. He's known me for a long time. 1,000. I haven't got time to go through a bloody list of 1,000 people and check their, who they are. This is madness. Right. So that was the next thing. The next thing was if you're in a hurry and you got a lot on, and I keep a big notebook and I write down the list of what I got to get through that day, and I tick it off because I've listened to a lot of podcasts and other things, and they say it's very good for your mental health, which it is, because you can see progress, and as you tick it off or cross through that particular task, it makes you feel good. You get a little bit of an endorphin rush, and it gives you some sense of progress and structure, and I find that very important. And if I don't write it down, it won't get done. And somebody wrote me this email saying, have we fought? And a terribly nice guy that I'm really very fond of, always happy to see. Have we fallen out? Are you upset? I went, no, I've just been busy. I wrote, I just replied quickly to answer the question. I didn't have time to dress the whole thing up. I answered the question there, and I said, no, we'll have coffee in Soho soon. Don't be silly. It's fine. Wow. I think it's not just us. It's exactly what Phil says. We have got this crazy urgency, which is unnecessary, and no disrespect, no rudeness is intended whatsoever. It's just we're doing other stuff.
And apart from anything, I'll be perfectly honest with you. I think anyone who knows me will know this well enough. If I'm going to be rude to someone, I'll say it to their face. I'm not going to beat about the bush.
No, Phil would. I would. Phil would.
Believe me, if I've got a problem, you'll soon know. And it won't be through ignoring a friend request either.
No, it's Rosemary just says, well, if Russ didn't show up to events until after midnight, we would have met several times. Rosemary Jessup is my wonderful,
too far.
My horse racing tipster. She's great. Francoise Pascal, Francoise, we do want to do a special. We want to do a 1 hour special with you because your story is extraordinary. Plus, I want you on Walk the Talk. We've got to sort that out, please. Hello, boys. I get some messages too. You probably get a message, Francois. In Mind the Language in 1978, I wrote to you and you haven't got back. I'm still sulking.
You've got to give these things time.
It'll be that. Francois Pascal's story is extraordinary, and we won't do it on a Friday. We do it on a Monday or a Wednesday, and we'll do a 1 hour special with you because your story is extraordinary, and I'd love you to be a guest on Walk the Talk because it's called The Hero's Journey, and it's about people who have gone to hell and back, lived to tell the tale, and thrived. So it's hopefully inspirational, and I think Francois is.
David Green writes a good point. I put it on the screen earlier on. He says a deeper need for external validation can be massively self-destructive. That is exactly what social media and those rotten like buttons have done to all of us. That's exactly what it is. It's almost like we need everything to be externally validated to make sure that it's okay. For example, I put this thing up on social media this week when the tension in the Middle East flared up again. Because I'm so sick to the back teeth of everything being twisted. I'm not saying that what's
Let's
reported
not get
in
into
the
the
news,
whole politics of it.
no, I know,
please.
but I'm not saying that what is reported isn't necessarily true, but I'm saying it's selective, right? And
well, it's not shown within context. Is the problem.
And it's extraordinarily frustrating, you know. And it does mean that stuff flares up, you know. I mean, I am on social media, I am known to offer, shall we say, the bigger picture, which is to my detriment. As a result of it, I do get quite a lot of abuse on social media about my stance on the Middle East. I don't mind it. I find it annoying because it's born out of ignorance.
I want to ask you this. You do it, you know there's going to be feedback.
No, I know, but it doesn't mean it's right. Do you know what I mean? You know, if you mass murder a gun, they'll shoot people. It doesn't mean it's right. Do you know what I mean? It's there are ways to behave and there are ways not to behave. So the way I look at it is that if someone thinks that it is appropriate to lambast someone just for no other reason than you happen to wholeheartedly disagree with their political stance, and that's right across the board, by the way. Forget the Middle East. It could be any political stance. If you think it's okay to turn around to that person and start hurling abuse at them just because you happen not to agree with them, then in my humble opinion, you're a moron. So, I mean, I just sort of think that debate is the way forward. So if you dislike something, then feel free to highlight why you dislike it and to discuss it like a grown-up. But if you're just going to hold school playground abuse, and it's really quite pathetic.
That's the world of politics, isn't it? It's just ludicrous.
But it's all of these things, right? What this does actually can affect. And the reason why I brought up that post that I put out there is I found myself actually sort of almost not being nervous by it, because I knew what I was writing and I knew that what I put out there is factually correct. But it was more about I was in anticipation of what level of abuse I was going to get. And actually, I have to say, frankly, I didn't actually get that much abuse from it, which is quite unusual. But I was sort of more in anticipation of the abuse I might get from it. But I was really interested to see the number of people who actually agreed with the statements that I made, you know, because I was thinking, oh, hang on a second, I'm not used to seeing this. I'm normally used to people telling me I'm wrong. But anyway.
Francois Pascal says, guys, I keep losing you. It is really very annoying. I keep missing half of what you're saying.
Francois, try coming off of Wi-Fi and going onto data and see if that helps. You see, we're technical. You see, we have a nice little system here where we can do live technical support on air.
Yeah. You got any problems? Just phone up Phil now. David Green says this. David Green's a very philosophical person because he's been through a lot. And he says maybe we've evolved to the point where we've forgotten what amazing creatures humans are. I don't think we're amazing at all.
I think what David's saying, and I agree with this, is that we have the capacity to be amazing, but very few people, sadly, use that full potential.
I'm not going to put this on screen. Would you like to read Claridge's? I call him. I don't know why I call him Claridge today, Paul.
He says
a huge thing. We'll just disappear.
We'll disappear. He says social media isn't real life, but people take it far too seriously and take offense to the most simple thing when no offense is met. For example, I met up with Eddie Nestor, who's a presenter on BBC, in the week. It was a fun day celebrating the NHS, I should say, at King's College Hospital. Goes on to say, now I'm getting trolled by so-called radio fans who are hacked off, shall we say, with both him and Eddie, because he and Eddie are friends, and he doesn't like the fact that they're friends. Don't like the fact that he was given what was Robert Elms's old time slot. Personally, I ignore the trolls, and that annoys them even more. Look, I have to say that, Paul, I don't understand why anyone would be annoyed with anyone being friends with anyone. To me, that doesn't make sense. I'd say if someone is that weird, if someone is that jealous, probably best just to, as you rightly say, ignore them. Yeah. But look, I feel as though that friendship is a personal thing. One never needs to declare openly if you're friends with someone, whether they're famous or not. It's for you to know, and for others. I'm not being funny. Exactly. I've always found it very strange when people declare that they are friends with someone who is in the limelight, because
we know a few of those.
No, I know, but I just find it odd because it's not necessary. You know, the way I look at it is that I don't go around and sort of say, oh, here's my friend Ollie. Do you know what I mean? Who no one knows who he is. Well, there's some people might know, but it's not the point. It's just it's a very strange behavior.
I got to tell you, I'll come back to your point in a minute, Paul Claridge. I am very quick to point out if somebody goes, "Oh, I met your great friend so and so." I said, "Whoa. Maybe I've met them twice in my life, maybe 3 times. They're not a personal friend of mine. I have deliberately few really close personal friends, but those people I could phone up night and day, and they'd be there. And I'm not talking about everybody else. I don't understand. I've never understood it. This desperate climbing up. Yeah, it's nonsense. The other thing, Paul Claridge, is complete madness. You're not in charge of BBC Radio London. You have no influence there whatsoever. You didn't decide to change Robert Elms's times of his show or wherever it is. I don't know. I haven't listened for years. And although I used to enjoy it. It's nothing to do with you. What do they want? What do they want you to do? This is weird. This is from Emma Webb. I get verbal abuse for having celeb contacts. I don't understand.
I think
Emma, what are they? I really don't understand that. I'm so sorry, Emma. I'm really confused. You've got some celeb contacts. Okay. Most people do somewhere along the line. How many times can I say, I'm sorry? What are you saying you're sorry for? Oh, existing? It's a nonsense. Tell them to shove off.
I don't understand. I actually don't understand sort of why it's even a thing. I suppose I'm trying
to follow it. Can't follow it.
I suppose what I'm trying to get at is that, look, the truth is that it's a very fine line that when someone knows someone well known and they say, oh, by the way, such and such is a friend of mine, it is true that it can sound like you're showing off, right? Even if it's inadvertently, that's what it can sound like. Mm. And I suspect that what happens is that one of the most common emotions that we all have one way or another, even if we try and suppress it, and some of us use it better than others, is jealousy.
No, so I don't. I genuinely don't.
No, everyone's got. I don't say that everyone uses it, but everyone's got the capability to be jealous, whether they use it or not. Well, so what I'm trying to get at is that if someone, for example, has very little control over their ability to be jealous or to not be jealous of someone, then maybe that can bring out a rather nasty side. So, for example, Paul was saying when he's going around telling people he's friends with Eddie Nestor, I'd be very cautious about that myself because, obviously, needless to say, I know 1 or 2 well-known people, but I never would announce who they are because I'm not interested in anyone knowing that. So it's tricky.
It's not their business.
It really is, like I said, it's exactly the same way I wouldn't go around announcing that I'm friends with someone who isn't well known. It's just a personal relationship with an individual, and it's no one else's blooming business.
But jealousy is the British disease. It's a terrible thing. It gets you nowhere. What it does, it's in a cancer-like way, and I use my words advisedly under the circumstances of my life. It eats you up. What's the point of being jealous? The thing to do is, if you see someone doing, quotes, in your opinion, better than you, look at your life, work out what you're not doing right, and change it, or see if there's ways that you can improve your situation. Don't be jealous of others. I think it's such a negative.
There you go. Barry J. Allen says, "Sorry, I'm late." That was a bit louder than I thought. I do apologise. Made me jump as well, and I knew I was playing.
What burglars!
I do apologise.
Freddie Mercury burst in. Holy crap! Don't ever do that to me again. Dick. Dick. Oh, the sheer professionalism.
I'm so sorry.
It's hopeless, isn't it? Barry, we wish you well. Barry's gone through a really awful time.
Production levels are high on this show. I'm sorry.
Rosemary Jessup said this. I'm surprised. That made the dog jump off my knee. God, I nearly saw my breakfast again. Never mind about that.
Yeah. Wow. Anyway, sorry.
But getting back to jealousy. Jealousy.
There's a flash in the pan.
It was. Jealousy is just utterly pointless. Pointless.
But actually, no, I beg to differ. And can I tell you for why I think it's not? I think it's pointless.
Go ahead.
Is because I wonder whether or not actually the emotion of jealousy is capable of spurring people forward. So in other words, if what they do is they see someone has something that they're after, their gut instinct is to say, "Oh, I'm really annoyed that you've got this and I haven't." And actually, what it could do is, I think it drives someone forward to say, "I want it. I'm going to go and get it."
Well, it's no good living in your head. You got to do it. There's a wonderful thing. It's an old story, but it's so true, and it covers so many aspects of life and so many aspects of the many, many subjects we have on the Daily Show with Phil and myself, or with Neil. And it's this. It's the guy standing on the steps of Carnegie Hall, which is a big concert space in New York City, and the guy's going, "Yeah, I'm better than this guy." And there's a famous violinist who's playing. "I'm better than this guy. I write better tunes than this guy." And somebody just came up to him and said, "Yeah, but he went and did it." It's no good. It's in your head, and you think, "Well, I'm better than so and so." Go and prove it. Go and do
100%. Let it spur you on.
If you think you're a better writer than J.K. Rowling and you don't like what she writes, write a book. See how it works out. It might work out brilliantly. You might get 1,000 words in and go, "Wow, this is harder than I thought." If you think you're a better singer than so-and-so, go to somebody like T. Green, who's the tremendous vocal coach, get some lessons and see how that works out for you.
As opposed to green tea.
Green tea, T. Green, that is his name, T. Green. Oh, dear God, Emma Webb, Flash made me jump. Coffee on the floor, classic, thanks.
And Green David says coffee is on the dogs.
I know, coffee. You made everybody leap.
I do apologise, but at least on the plus side, they're listening and they're paying attention now.
They're now deaf as well. By the way.
What?
They're now deaf, and the animals are all over the place and scared, like bonfire. No, I've never understood.
Here is us talking about looking after the dogs at the start of the show. We sympathized that idea, didn't we?
Some of the dogs have now got boiling coffee all over.
Some dogs are coffee stained, others have got heart failure. Honest to God, report en masse to the NSPCC.
You see, this is very interesting. Let's look at this and be serious just for a sec. Françoise Pascal, one of the most beautiful women to ever grace British television screens. I say it every time because it's true. If I put a picture on Facebook or say anything, I can feel. Hang on. What do you mean feel? Is that in your? I'm not being rude. Hear me out. Is that in your head, or are you getting negative comment? I can feel some kind of jealousy, especially from other women. Yes, Well, you know, those pictures, Francois, let's be honest, those pictures are stunning. They're stunning, and I'm not being rude. I'm not being sexist. They're very glamorous. They're very sexy. They're very attractive. That's what they are. That's who you are. You are Francoise Pascal. The end. Sure, people are going to be jealous. Would they have wanted your life, though, and everything that you've gone through, and all the abuse you've suffered? Would they have wanted that? I think not. No, they just want the upside. They want what they see as the glamorous side. They don't want the reality of being Francoise Pascal. Very different.
Emma Webb sums it up beautifully, and it's so true. Anxiety is annoying. It really is.
Horrible,
And it's
horrible.
so unproductive, honestly.
Awful.
There's just something about feeling anxious about a situation that is so completely and utterly a waste of time. I can't even begin to sort of explain how, in hindsight, how cross I get with myself. I know full well it's a normal emotion. It's something that I probably can't control that well. But just knowing that I have even bothered wasting my time getting worked up about a situation that is more than likely out of my control. And even if it was out of my control, I'm talking about the reactions and the emotions of others. And how on earth does that help? How does it help me by thinking to myself, well, I'm annoyed for feeling like this because someone else has done X, Y, Z? It's just pointless.
But that's not anxiety. I suffer, and it's getting better because I'm doing a lot of work to try and get rid of it. Low level anxiety all the time. I had it all the time. And there was nothing specific that I had to be anxious about. But I suffered this like background hum, and I thought, I don't want to be like this. This is no good. For God's sake, I've co-founded a mental health radio station. I ain't having this. The irony is not lost on me. So I've done a lot of work over the last couple of months to try and shift it. And it's better. It's better, and I have I'll be perfectly blunt, Mark Collin to thank for a degree of that and a sort of realignment of the way that I think, because it's important. And the things that were making me anxious, coming back to jealousy, I've thought, right, this, and this, these things are not right. Some of them are business, some of them are commercial, some of them are emotional, whatever it might be. And I've made adjustments. And we've worked towards a plan, like with the business, work towards a plan. I think this all sounds very Tony Robbins, but you got to have a plan. You got to have goals. Otherwise, it's aimless. And that's horrible. I like to try every day. I go, right, even if I achieve one small thing today, it's a step forward. It's a step in the right direction. Not every day. It doesn't work every day. Some days, life gets in the way. But if I can do that, I feel much better, And I was the same, and it's the same with men's radio and women's radio. We want it to be there to help people and to help as many people as humanly possible with ridiculously limited funds, crazy limited funds. So we've now, reset everything, and things will be happening between now and next March. But, it's like, well, we could sit and let this go on, or we could take steps and get everybody on the same page. And I really think it's important. Emma Webb's now, oh, wow. You see, Emma Webb, try living with anxiety since a toddler. It's, as the Americans say, it sucks. Yes, it does. It does. But Emma, do you know? Yeah, I just
have
wonder,
to say though, on your point though, okay, it is important to stress that it doesn't take money to talk, and that's fundamentally sort of what this exists for. And as far as I'm concerned, sort of why I feel very privileged to be a part of it is because that it gives, even if it gives one person the opportunity to talk and just to feel better for it, it's worth it.
When I get a private message from somebody who doesn't want to put it on this, they send me a private message about how it's helped or whatever. I can't tell you how that makes me feel. That's a genuine validation. In other
It's
words,
a bit better than a like button.
yeah, does that make sense? That's a genuine. I'm not looking for that. I'm not looking for that. But it makes me feel, at least when I went to my business partner, I said, let's do men's radio. We shook hands over a sticky formica table in Covent Garden, didn't even bother with the contract, and just got on with it. Within a week or so, two, we were up and running, and that's it. Because Howard shared the same vision, which we still do. We all do. Howard, Penny, and myself, and the rest of the gang. And to get that thing means, yeah, we weren't wrong. People are finding it useful. That's a validation that is worthwhile. Getting a like on something on Facebook or Twitter, who cares? It's a bit of fun. It's a bit of fun. If they like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. The world still turns. You can't base your existence on desperately seeking the approval of other people. It's a nightmare, honestly. It's a nightmare. Paul Claridge. Well, this is a good point. Is there a way the listeners can help Emma Russ? Well, they can. You can make donations. Of course you can. Maybe I'll do another little sweep and see if that works. But we've got things in place.
It's true. It's true. Actually, the Christmas party's coming up. Jokes.
What, you and me sitting around one cupcake going, this is fun.
This is the best party I've ever been to in my whole life.
I'm really enjoying it. Oh, look at the time. It's 7:30. I've got to be going. It's getting late. Right.
Rosemary Jessup, thank you.
Absolutely.
Please, can we remember the 52 civilians killed by terrorists in London on the 7th of July, 2005? So, absolutely.
And what did
18 years ago.
What did that achieve? Answer: nothing. Nothing whatsoever, apart from grow loathing, grow distrust, grow hatred. Awful. Phil very kindly every year puts up a picture, and when you see those pictures, the memories come flooding back. And if I lost a loved one or a member of my family through that, I don't know how you
just got to remember. I mean, it sounds very cliche now to say the senselessness of it all, but it really is. If you think about it, it was just everyday Londoners going about their normal lives, going to work, hopefully being hardworking taxpayers who just wanted to make their world a little better, and that was the last time they would have seen their families and stuff like. What on earth is that about? How on earth does that even happen? How is it that any other, I say human being, I don't believe these cretins to be human, to be honest, but how do you believe that any human being can think that it is a good idea to extinguish someone for no other reason than them just going about their everyday life? If they're causing harm to others is a whole other debate, but to actually...
Because you can't apply logic to fanatic lunatics. That's why. Well, they're mad. They're as mad as a March hare, and they're brainwashed, and they're fanatics. And it's a death cult. Nothing you can do. It's like trying to argue with the people in the Charles Manson gang. Why would you do that? Because you're mad and you've been brainwashed.
But it is quite extraordinary to think that if someone is in that mindset, if someone is in that world, and their ultimate goal, one would assume their ultimate goal, is to see that everyone who is an infidel, if you like, so someone who is not a believer, not of that particular tribe, if their ultimate goal is to convert everyone and get them over, how on earth does that encourage people to see that way of life?
It would encourage you to do the
run a mile, run the opposite way.
Run a mile and do the exact opposite.
I mean, I would anyway, but let's not dwell on that.
That's not the point. I mean, the point is, it is, you've used the word, and it's the only word I can say, it's senseless. Absolutely senseless. But of course, terrorist means just that. The idea is to cause terror, to make you feel scared, to make you feel you're not going to win a war that way. You're going to try and demoralize a population. What they hope to achieve with that, God only knows. I don't know. No idea. It's absolutely dreadful and pointless. What an utter waste of life. I was, where was I? I was attending a meeting, and I was in one of the big squares, and of course they cut off all the phones. What year was it?
2005.
Right. Yeah, they cut off all the phones, and of course you can't phone anybody to say, no, I'm okay. Thank God I wasn't on the tube. I mean, I live on tubes and buses all the time. Hardly drive anymore now.
You know, it has to be said, it is extraordinary, that you've said that. What's the year that it was? Because to me, this goes to show that 7/7 is not taken anywhere near as seriously as 9/11 is. Because I think everyone remembers 9/11 happened in 2001.
God, yes.
And yet for 7/7, a lot of people don't remember the year. And I'll hold my hands up. I didn't remember the year this morning. I had to look it up.
I thought it was much more recent. It's weird. I don't know where the time goes. 9/11, I was actually working in a television studio. We were editing. And of course, I was living in this studio, which has dozens of screens on every wall. No, forget it. Don't want to talk about it. Absolutely ghastly. What does it prove? Nothing. And the aftermath of that was a complete disaster. Yes, it achieves nothing whatsoever. There we are. So Springsteen was in the park last night. Apparently was absolutely fabulous. People have been commenting this morning, sending me little pictures and messages, and it looked great. Springsteen.
Even if we're just dancing in the park.
Oh, that's very good. Very good. Very, very good. But here's an interesting thing. And it kind of links back to a lot of the themes we have, especially the stuff that Phil and I talk about. There's Bruce Springsteen, one of the biggest rock stars in the history of rock, and has been for 30, 40 years. We know nothing virtually about his private life. He doesn't court publicity. He does what he wants to do. He loves the music. He lives for the music. He lives for the live shows, which are spectacularly good. Like all of us, is getting on a little bit. I saw him when he was much younger. I've seen him more recently, and it's a wonderful, wonderful show. He doesn't need to do all this Love Island crap and all these paparazzi things. He won't have it. He has a completely normal life. My point is, it is possible. You can be same as McCartney. You don't have to do it. You can have, if you choose, that's your way of life. I would do it. It's my job. It's my vocation. Outside of that, what I do is nobody else's business. It's always been my philosophy. And if Bruce Springsteen can do it, anyone can blooming well do it. It's the people who say, oh, no. Yeah, because you court it. You encourage it. Don't you think? Or am I wrong?
No, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I tell you who the classic examples to me of that in this day and age, even if people just think, well, Bruce Springsteen comes from another era, it's not possible. Look at Chris Martin from Coldplay.
Yeah.
He's an
you
absolute
could walk
classic
past
example.
him in the street.
You actually wouldn't even know Chris Martin if you saw him. And the reason for it is because he's deliberately made it about the music. He's not made it about him.
Absolutely. Whereas Beyonce, it's all about me. That's a different thing. Interestingly, when Coldplay were playing at the O2, the other members of the band went in there by tube. If I sat opposite somebody from Coldplay, I wouldn't know. I just think it's somebody else going in. Very weird you should say this, Paul Claridge, because I wasn't going to mention it. Right? You are a little bit psychic, my friend. Russ, next year, Caned Laughter in Hyde Park. No, but I will be announcing a one-off Caned Laughter show before the end of this year in a London theatre. Yeah.
Jaw drops to the floor.
Yeah. I decided on it yesterday, and I made an inquiry, and be later in the year, I think, unless I really panic.
Well.
Yeah. So you'll be lovely if you come along. But anyway, that's to be seen. That's to be seen. It's only because I like to scare myself.
Well, you've got to keep yourself on your toes, you see. I mean, you're only trying to run MRS. You're only trying to do a podcast series. You're copywriting. You're also writing a book. So, I mean, you have to keep yourself out of mischief, because otherwise you might run the risk of being bored.
Yay! About time, says Françoise Pascal. Yay! It'll be a new show. There'll
be updated material in there.
A lot of new stuff. Yeah.
Well.
A lot of new stuff. If I can have the bottle to do it. Well, anyway, that's it.
When you say the bottle, I mean, what does it have a particular fluid in the bottle?
No, I am so taking on some single malt. It's the only way I'll get through it. It's the only way I'll get through it.
If there's a grain of hope.
Yay! See what you did there. I hope,
You're
by the way,
very
there's a
welcome.
cancellation for Tuesday. That's
Yes, so do I. I was a bit annoyed about that, but let's
well,
not dwell.
there
I
you
suppose
go.
there'll be loads of people disappointed.
Big total luck of the draw.
Well,
that
quite.
is it, gang. That is it.
Oh.
Well, say whatever you're going to say.
I was just going to say bye.
A man of few words, and most of those unintelligible. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you. Stop doing that face. It's freaking me out. Please stop. Please stop. That's really horrible. I don't want to be seeing that face next Friday over dinner.
You may well do.
Spitting out my soup.
Monday at midday. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.